my name is Courtney Doucet. I'm account manager for AspenTech, and I'm based here in Houston, Texas. I've been with the company for about a month and a half now. So thank you for inviting me to come out to your beautiful refinery. Today, I wanted to talk to you about how your company can move along a transformation journey by optimizing your assets to run safer, greener, longer, and faster. So my goals today are for you to identify some areas where you think you might need a little bit of help, and then we can decide how or if AspenTech can help you. Give you a second to look at our disclaimer. Okay, so let's take a look at some market trends. I was at a conference last week and they said an estimated 1.2 billion people still lack access to electricity. That in itself is a huge market. So throw in emerging countries like India and China that are growing at substantial rates. So with these growing populations come a rise in urbanization and industrialization. That in turn pushes the oil market and the polymer market, and that in turn pushes the refinery market. So sustainability, climate change, carbon reduction, reduction in greenhouse gases, these are all terms that we now hear on a daily basis. So companies and even countries are self-imposing reduction targets. Like Shell has recently stated that they plan to reduce their carbon by 2 to 3%. And right now, while these are still kind of voluntary, you can bet in the future these kind of reductions are going to be mandatory. So demographics. We are digital immigrants. I love this term. So the opposite of digital immigrants are digital natives. So those were kids that were like born with iPhones in their hand. So we as digital immigrants have seen this technology and we have taken it this far. And honestly, I think we've done a pretty darn good job of it. But can you imagine the people who have never known another world, how far they're going to take technology? I mean, it is going to grow at an exponential rate. So speaking of technology, ARC is a leading technology research and advisory group. At their conference this year, a major Middle Eastern refiner was quoted as saying, "Digitalization is inevitable. Embrace it, the sooner the better." This major refinery also stated that they estimated their return on investment due to technology was 25 to 30%. It's a pretty substantial ROI. So, safety goals, regulatory compliance, environmental awareness. How do we achieve all of these things without running our profitabilities into the ground? Do you feel like you could use some help in these areas? Yeah, I bet you do. Also, at the Paris Agreement in 2015, 195 world leaders agreed to the 2020 targets. And that is a reduction in CO2 by 20%, a 20% increase in renewables, and a 20% increase in energy efficiency. So we are going to have to find ways to run safer, greener, longer, and faster. But there is good news. So, like, barriers to entry for digitalized facilities have never been lower. Modern sensor technology now is allowing for us to get more data at a faster rate and cheaper than ever before. All really good news. So what about this human factor, this generational shift? By the year 2025, 75% of the workforce will be digital natives. So this is the generation that were born with phones in their hand. They have spent their formative years in this interconnected world that is marked by rapid technology-fueled change. So these workers are not only comfortable in this fast-paced digitalized environment, but they thrive in it. And quite frankly, they expect it in a modern workplace. So typical ROIs through digitalization, production throughput increased 25%. Total maintenance cost, a decrease between 15 and 30%. Average life cycle of your assets increase 15 to 20%. So imagine how much your asset costs, and now you're getting 20% more life out of that asset. Those numbers do add up. So digital transformation is a journey. AspenTech has been on this journey for 38 years now. So let's take a look at a technology maturity curve. And as we do this, I want you to think about where you feel like your refinery is right now and where you want to be in the next 1 year, the next 3 years, and the next 5 years. So most technology starts off as spreadsheets and in-house tools. And these are probably just on things like one asset here and there. The next step in stage 2, we are isolating departments. So maybe your supply chain has its own technology, and then your maintenance department runs its own version. But as you can imagine, what is always best for supply chains probably not going to be what is best for maintenance. So move into category 3, and now we're taking a holistic approach of the enterprise as a whole. So now we're looking at all of these things together. Move on one more to step 4. Now we're getting into artificial intelligence and using machinery to predict breakdowns and using machinery to learn and make decisions for us to make things move faster and more efficiently. What's next for category number 5? I don't know, but I'm pretty excited about it. And what I do know is AspenTech's future is your future too. So honestly, most companies right now on this technology chart fall somewhere in between 2 and 3. So at your refinery, where do you feel like you are right now? Somewhere at 2, maybe possibly approaching 3. Where would you like to be in the next 1 year? More towards 3? Where would you want to be in the next 3 years? Solidly in category 3 and possibly moving into category 4. I think those are very attainable targets. So AspenTech talks a lot about the asset life cycle. So let's take a look at this. How do you get the most out of your assets? They're expensive, but they also make your company run. So maybe we start in the design, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Then look at the operations, running to the limits of performance. But you can't run your asset to the limit of performance and have it break down, so that brings in maintenance. So individually, these all provide a benefit. But when you use technology and group them all together, that's when you get the most value. So AspenTech has 3 different categories or suites of software. A lot of our own customers don't even realize this. They think of us as, oh yeah, they're the company that has HISES, they're an engineering software, or, oh yeah, they're the company that has PIMS, they must be, a planning company or planning software company. But in reality, we are in engineering, looking to push asset design. We are in manufacturing and supply chain, optimizing asset operations. And we are in APM, driving the asset uptime. So let's take a look at the AspenTech journey throughout the years to see how and when we became or we grew as a company. Like I said, AspenTech started almost 40 years ago. Back then we were focused on the design of assets. This company started off as a project at MIT, and at the end of the project they said, hey, you know what, this could be really beneficial for a plant. So we were into things like designing plant digital twins and using software to debottlenecking. So then, fast forward to the late 90s and the early 2000s, we moved into production optimization. And this was using technology to buy the right crudes, or using it to schedule to make sure you're making the most profitable mix of products for the current market demand. So then 3 years ago, we realized by talking to our customers, they said, you know what, all of that product optimization is fantastic, but when our asset breaks down, all that value goes to zero. So then we moved into the science of maintenance. And this is using machine learning to predict breakdowns 30, 60, sometimes even 90 days before they happen. So using product optimization on its own is great. It is closing the gap between planning and operations. But when we use it together with engineering, we can use our plant digital twin with the performance engineering software along with this production optimization, and then we can further enhance what the plant can do. Additionally, when we take in the maintenance information and make it available to planning, we can work around asset failures months in advance. So this would be things like, okay, we've got an alert that a particular asset is going to break down in the next 60 days. Let's go back to planning and buy a different crude so that we can make something different to bypass that, take that asset out of line, fix it, and then we can go back to what we were making before. And in doing that, you don't have any down days. So a second level to all of this, second division, is that value chain optimization. So this connects us outside of the fence of the enterprise. So now we're looking at supply chain all the way from forecasting and planning, all the way through distribution and going to market. Take it one step even farther, and now you can visualize and automate execution across all the business functions for a completely smart enterprise. So I know what you're thinking right now. Okay, Courtney, all that sounds great, but the proof is in the pudding. Let's look at some numbers. Fine. These customers are all customers of AspenTech, and they have been so thrilled with their results that they have agreed to let us publish their numbers. So think about what a full day in downtime will cost your refinery. Multiply that number by 10. Look at this. 10 days in reduction of unplanned shutdowns. 95% on-time shipment for polymers. Saudi Aramco, I mean, huge company, right? They estimated that they saved $550 million by optimizing their upstream assets. So my favorite phrase of the day, AspenTech will help you by optimizing your assets and even your enterprise to run safer, greener, longer, and faster. So AspenTech really is committed to our customers. They care as a company. I said earlier that your successes are our successes, and we really do mean it. We're with you every step of the way. We also care about our end users. AspenTech does a lot to make sure that our software is as intuitive as possible for our users. I can tell you, AspenTech cares about their employees. I've been with the company for about a month and a half, and I can see the difference already in other places that I've worked. I mean, to get us through the Houston summer, they packed our freezers full of ice cream. That means that a company cares, right? So customer success, we have entire departments devoted to customer success. We don't just sell you something and then walk away. Absolutely not. We have 24-hour hotlines and people that are always willing to help. In the future, we are going more into the embedded AI, using computers to learn and make the decisions to take the burden off of you and make your lives easier. And this, we hope, will transform all of the industries that we serve. So, today we've spoken a lot about a digital transformation, and we've even ID'd some areas where you felt like you guys could possibly need a little bit of help. At this point, do you think it would be of value to have us back and maybe dig a little bit deeper by doing a digitalized workshop? You would? Okay, that's great. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this. So, in conclusion, AspenTech is a technology company, and we are in engineering, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We are in manufacturing and supply chain, running to the limits of performance, and we are in APM, driving uptime through actionable insights. Again, my name is Courtney Doucet. I'm based here in Houston, Texas. Thank you very much for your time.